Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Regional Wastewater Reclamation Advisory Committee meeting of March 23, 2023. We do have quorum. Jeanette, can we have roll call, please?
Sure. Allison Jones.
Here.
Anne Marie Wolf. Anne Marie, I think you're muted. All right, Armando Membria.
Presente. Here? Here? I'm here.
Okay. Claire, can you hear me? Craig Canizaro.
There.
All right, Matt Mathewson.
Here.
Scott Holtz.
Here.
Scott Oldendorf.
Here.
All right, let's double check Anne Marie. Anne Marie, you're muted. Rob, good morning. Doing roll call. Rob Kulinovsky.
Here.
Thank you. Claire. Steve Foley.
Here.
All right, so Claire and Anne Marie, you both are muted and we can't hear you. Can you raise your hand? Okay, well, we're going to continue. We do have quorum.
Still have quorum? Okay. Excellent. Well, good morning, everybody. For those joining virtually, below, I misspoke here. This will help ensure we do not have any feedback on any background noises to interfere with the speakers. If a committee member would like to ask a question, please use the raise the hand feature.
Morning, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can't hear any of you. Consider.
Your device
Okay,
settings.
I can't hear you. I'm gonna leave and then come back in.
Okay.
Hey, Carmine.
If a committee member would like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature. Please remember to lower your hand once your question has been addressed. When you're ready to speak, please unmute your microphone. This is especially important during votes. Do not forget to mute yourself when finished. As a reminder, audience members are only permitted to speak during the call to the audience. Being recorded to satisfy the open meeting requirements. For those attending the meeting in person, okay, we've already been to that. I'm doing really good for a morning. Okay, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have call to the audience. Okay, not seeing any raised hands. We'll go on to the next thing, which is safety share. Does anybody have anything to share for safety share? I think I'll just jump in there. Please, everybody, watch out. We're starting a new 2-year construction phase at I-10 between Orange Grove, probably Ina, but Orange Grove and the Roof Roff areas. So watch your frontage roads and all the traffic cones. We get to do it again for another 2 years. Anybody else have a safety share?
I have one. Although our weather's been a little wacky in the last week or two, the the creatures that we share the desert with are waking up and coming out. So if you are hiking around in a deserted or desert area, or even in the non-deserted areas, watch where you step and make sure that you're wearing higher topped shoes if you're walking up the hill. That's all.
Anybody else have a safety share? Okay, Jackson, you got off light this month.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Wait, we need to do approval.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I hope everybody's had a chance to review and read. Are there any amendments, adjustments, corrections, anything?
I read the minutes. They looked good to me. I'll move that we accept them.
Do I have a second?
second,
All in favor?
aye.
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 Any abstains? Okay, the meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2023 are so passed. Next is the discussion and action. Jackson, I think you have an introduction to make.
Okay, good morning, everyone. First, on item F3A, there was a typo, and it was the budget we're discussing is fiscal year 23-24. So just make that note on your agendas, a minor change there. Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce Craig Canisaro from Westland Resources. You've all come to know and love Mark Taylor, but he was spread too thin, and so he left a vacancy, and that was just recently filled by Craig. And rather than me tell you about his pedigree, I will ask him to introduce himself. So welcome, Craig.
Yeah, so my name's Craig Canisaro. I'm a civil engineer at Westland Resources. I've been working in Tucson for wastewater for 27 years.
Oh, we can't hear online. The microphone needs to be adjusted. Thank you.
Here, just have a chair right there, Craig. Sorry. So, and start again, Craig Canisaro. So I work at Westland Resources, civil engineer. Been working in Tucson since I graduated from U of A in 96. So for the last 27 years, been working in the wastewater field. Don't know too much, not too exciting. Married, have 2 kids. Live a simple life, but I've been working on a lot of wastewater projects over the years, so I'm very familiar with it. Obviously, I've worked with Mark Taylor for over 20 years, so I'm very familiar with him, and we do the similar things. So I'm just happy to be here, and hopefully I can contribute in a positive way.
Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome.
Congratulations. And then we have the legislative agenda. Carmine, you're going to give a briefing on that.
Scott, we have a hard time hearing you. I'm not sure what you said.
Yeah, just a minute, we're gonna adjust our microphone over here. Please hold.
God bless me with a baritone voice, and usually people can hear me.
Is that any better?
Can you hear us any better?
Yes.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. How does that sound?
Good.
Okay, very good. Next on the agenda is the county legislative agenda. Carmine, you are going to brief us on that, I understand.
Absolutely. Good morning, members and chair. Thanks for having me. Boy, time flies. It seems like I just gave you the 2022 legislative update, so things keep moving along. I'm gonna share my screen. Is everybody able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. And I'll go ahead and forward over these slides so that they can be distributed to the committee members. And I'm going to walk you through really just high level. This is to give you a flavor as to what items are getting a little feedback. Okay, if that happens, if others can mute their microphones, that'd be super. Give you a little flavor of what's taken place at the legislature. Really just starting with the Pima County legislative priorities for 2023. So each year, the county administrator presents a legislative agenda to the Board of Supervisors for their approval, and that was done. Really, the priorities are as indicated here. Protect Pima County taxpayer. That's looking at state cost shifts and other mandates that have fiscal impact on Pima County. Investing in Pima County's infrastructure, that's been a hallmark of our legislative agenda. Obviously, you all know quite well the cost and the benefits of having a robust infrastructure network in the county. Strengthening the public health authority, obviously coming out of the pandemic, lots have been learned through that process, and certainly looking to maintain and grow the county's role as a public health agency throughout the region. Fortifying public safety, that's a hallmark as well, focused on the priorities for law enforcement and the justice system, and making sure that Pima County residents are well protected, well served, and safe. And then support for the County Supervisors Association adopted legislative agenda. So Pima County is a member of the County Supervisor Association. Many of the details that are in this presentation were provided by CSA, and they're a great resource and partner for Pima County. Just briefly, the county administrator does provide legislative updates to the Board of Supervisors. They happen on a monthly or so frequency, and this is the one that the county administrator sent to the Board of Supervisors in early March. And so what I will do when I send the slide deck to the wastewater team to distribute to the commission, I'll make sure to include this, and then on a regular frequency, the wastewater staff can pull this off of the county administrator's correspondence webpage and share it with you all so that you're getting frequent updates on these items. Just to take a quick look at the timeline for the 2023 session, opening happened January 9, 2023. Currently, as of today, it's the 74th day of the session. There's been about 1,500 bills that have been introduced. There's other matters that have been introduced, memorials and resolutions, just under 100. The governor has signed 2 bills and vetoed 16 bills. The update that we have heard is that there will be an extension, or a rumored extension, to the time frame for bills to be heard in the opposite chamber. So bills originating in the House then go to the Senate and vice versa. So the 100th day of the session would be April 19th, 2023. Whether or not the legislature adjourns at that point remains to be seen. Budget talks have been started, but there's not a whole lot of detail on that particular topic at this point. I went ahead and in here, there's about 24 bills that have water focus, and I'm not going to read through all of these or highlight very many of them. This is really a compendium for you to be able to look at those that you have interest in and get out to the state legislature website, or if you'd like some follow-up information from county staff on them, we can certainly get that back to you. But in the water space, about 24 bills that are making their way in various states of status. The one that I highlighted there in blue talks about the Board of Supervisors powers related to water, and this has to do with reuse and recharge and authorities, and both on the water and the wastewater side. So we have the ability to get credits for recharging water. This is a topic that potentially has the ability to expand those powers of the County Board of Supervisors and the county and the wastewater utility. So we're keeping an eye on that one. Another one that our team at Wastewater is familiar with is that House Bill 2669. So this involves a prohibition of land application of biosolids. So Jackson has probably briefed you all in the past about our approach to applying those biosolids for agricultural land purposes. And so this particular bill is seeking to impose restrictions on the distance which those biosolids could be applied relative to residential areas. So this is one of keen interest to the county. The concern, as I understand it, is the presence of PFAS and other chemical materials in biosolids and infiltration potential into groundwater. So we're keeping a close eye on this one and talking with our legislative lobbyist. We do have a lobbyist at the state level. That's Michael Rossi. Some of you may know Michael. He's been around the community a long time, has served in that capacity as a lobbyist for Pima County for decades now. So we're in close communication with Michael throughout the legislative session. And we also have, as part of his team, individuals who lobby also at the federal level for the county. Just a couple items of note that CSA points out. There are several priorities from the governor in the water space. One of them has to do with the Groundwater Management Act and her establishment of a water policy council. So the county administrator has created an internal working water group comprised of leadership from various Pima County departments. Jackson is a member on that committee. And so the county working water group is talking about items that the county can do or things that could affect the county and what they do relative to water. The county administrator has also made a request or at least expressed an interest to the governor about appointments into the various water policy forums that she has initiated so that the county can stay active, provide input, and help to shape the direction of any modernization of that Groundwater Management Act. There's another interest by the governor to provide additional funding for the creation of rural active management areas. So most of the rural counties do not have active management areas. Pima County is in one. It's the Tucson active management area. So that is an interest of the governor. I think you all have heard at one point or another a discussion about desalinated water and the importation of that to augment supply into the region. And so the Water Infrastructure Financing Authority has been presented with a proposal on desalination. I think that has a long way to go before it would potentially be green lighted to proceed. And I think there are both proponents and opponents to that particular proposal that's been put forth. Highlighted some of the bills relative to our zoning authorities and our planning authorities. This, I think, has some potential either directly or indirectly on wastewater facility operations. The one that has caught the most attention has to do with licensing and permitting timeframes. Again, an approach by the legislature to impose one size fits all criteria and deadlines for performing certain licensing and permitting functions. I'm proud to say, I'm proud to say that we've got a really responsive, effective and efficient permitting system across the various departments. There's good coordination. We've got the shortest turnaround timeframes in the region. So, we're working constantly with the development community and the construction industry to refine our approaches to it. And so this type of standardization could serve as an impediment to doing some of the innovative, creative things that we've done and our ability to remain as responsive as we have been. So we're, generally keeping track of that and providing input. Another one that has got a lot of attention has to do with decommissioning of solar and wind generating facilities. So, this particular area, again, the county has provisions for this type of decommissioning when those facilities become inactive, but it's a statewide broad brush approach, again, imposing more prescriptive requirements on those facilities and bringing them out of service and removing them and restoration of the land subsequently. It's a lot of focus on housing and homelessness at the state legislature. This certainly aligns with conversations that are happening here locally. If you drive around town, I know many of you are business owners. The effects of some of the activities associated with homeless or unsheltered individuals. It's not the fact that people are homeless, it's the activities that include some component of drug use, maybe criminal actions in trespass and burglary. It is the impacts on businesses. The Pima County Small Business Commission has raised this as a priority topic. The county administration and the sheriff's department is working closely with the city of Tucson, their mayor and council, the city manager, law enforcement on things that can be done to provide social services and wraparound assistance to individuals in need who are experiencing homelessness, also while taking care of some of those undesirable criminal activities that are taking place out in the community. Homeless encampment removal, I highlighted that down at the bottom. That gives a requirement to provide notice to individuals who are living in these encampments prior to their removal. The county has a protocol for doing that. So we go out, we post notice at the encampment of the pending removal. We give 72 hours. We work with the social service providers to try and connect up individuals with necessary resources to assist them. And then up at the top, I didn't comment, the governor has placed funding $150 million into Housing Trust Fund. This is a complex topic in our community and has interrelated aspects of poverty, housing affordability, and the aspects of homelessness and the activities and needs there. That concludes my comments. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Carmine.
Yes.
We have one question from Allison Jones. Allison, go ahead.
Hi, Carmine. I was wondering about if you could give any more details on the Senate Bill 1432, the assured water supplies regarding small residential developments. Do you have any details on that?
You know what? Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna pull up. So you said 1432. I have a little
Yeah.
cheat sheet off to the side. Oh, dang it. It doesn't have an update on that one. I apologize. I am not recalling what that one is specifically focused on. Do you know some of the principal?
Yeah, right now you do not need an assured water supply for a development of 6 houses or less. And it's become a way for developers to get around the assured water supply requirements. They just divide it up into 6 house developments. And so I don't know, I can look it up, but I thought you might know what the requirements are. I would probably be against anything that loosened that up.
Yeah, so I know that that conversation has been raised, and I know that there's also the discussion about the rental subdivisions, right? So
Yes.
we've had
Build to rent.
that's
yeah.
right, the build to rent, and so that one is, let me see real quick, let me go back.
That one's really insidious because they don't need they can build a huge development, but as long as they don't sell them, they just rent them. There's no assured water supply requirement.
That's correct. I think that one may be House Bill 2445, but I think it's of a similar nature, trying to get at some of these gaps in terms of the assured water requirements. So, you know, the county is certainly interested in ensuring that, you know, the sustainable supply for the region is, you know, achieved, and that would be an item that we would generally be supportive of.
Thank you.
This is Jackson Carmine. Just one clarification on that. The 5669, the one on biosolids, 2669. It's not really about a PFAS. It's more just about how close biosolids are land applied. You're populated. You know, what's the number, Jeff? How many per acre? Yeah, so I don't know if you heard him, but it's a 3-mile distance away from any 128 residents per acre, you know, population density, and 1 mile away from any food crop that's in the ground. So it really wasn't about PFAS. It was just about those food crops and the densities of housing, just for clarification. That's all.
Anybody have any additional questions for that, for Carmine? Carmine, thank you very much. That's a very informative briefing. Thank you very, very much. Okay, next on the agenda is going to be our wastewater proposed budget review by Ellen. Ellen, it's all yours.
Good morning. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what I have before you is the financial plan for 20. I'm getting some feedback. I'll try again. So what we have for you today is the 2023 financial plan. Many of these slides will look familiar to you. The last time we had a discussion, the budget was still in the process of being baked. We are further along in the process. We are at the stage where we are putting together the recommended budget for county administrator. So the numbers have solidified. Come on. So our key assumptions, they are population growth, volume usage, annual rate of expense increase, capital projects debt assumptions. These have not changed since the last time we talked. I would like to bring to your attention line number 5, annual rate of expense increases. The increase for next fiscal year is approximately 7%. We had tried to hold the line at about 5%, but because of an increase in benefit costs, which were layered in, and an additional supplemental request that Jackson had submitted for some operational capital, tractors and a truck, it has increased to 7% for this year. But as you can see going out, we are trying to hold the line at 3, 2.5. Again, all of these assumptions are reviewed every year and will be adjusted as facts on the ground change. Here we have a slide that dictates what our revenues are for the past going forward. As you can see, we are slightly below 180 million. And in 2027, we will be slightly above 180 million. And that includes all kinds of revenues, both user fees, connection fees, utility fees, and other sources of revenue. This is the capital improvement program for the next 5 years. As you can see, we have historically tried to keep the line at about $55 million. That is what's going forward until we hit 2027. That is due to the Sarita plant planning phase. As I'm sure Jackson will remind everyone, this is still a planning number. We don't know if that's going to be real, if it's going to slide a little bit into the future or slide a little bit into 2026. So again, all of these are planned numbers and are reviewed on an annual basis based on what is going on the ground. Operating costs. We are seeing a significant increase in operating costs between 2022 and 2024. That is primarily being driven by inflation, both last year and this year, or sorry, the current year and next year. In finance, I am always in 3 different years. The year that's being audited, the year that I'm in, and the year that I'm planning. So sometimes I get those, what year am I in, different. So in 2023, we have seen historic levels of inflation. And in next year, 2024, as I indicated, we are budgeting for about a 7% overall increase in expenditures. Our debt issuances will remain relatively stable, again, trying to hit that 55 million level until we get to 2027, where we have the Sarita plant discussion. This slide talks about our debt service payments, what they would be without the prepayments. They would be significant. After debt service, they are right in line with where we want to keep them, somewhere between $60 and $65 million. So prepaying debt is part of our overall financial strategy. These are our debt service payments. You can see that the existing debt is going down, which is great because we're using cash to pay that off. We've got new debt layered in here in green. The other areas that we want to talk about are cash balances. We have been keeping our unrestricted cash balance. Our goal is above $50 million, and we are continuing to see that. And our debt service ratio of 1.3 is also where above that is where we want to be. These are the 2 areas that rating agencies always look at. This is an R chart. Hopefully all of you have the adjusted numbers that we sent out earlier this week. You can see here on the rating agency ratios, We are we are above the 1.3 all the way out through 2027, which is exactly where we needed to be. And our unrestricted cash is now all above 50 million, which is great. When I met with the finance subcommittee, the preliminary draft that they saw showed our cash dipping. Jackson and I had a conversation about how to mitigate that. We adjusted one line item in the capital program from $8 million to $7 million for several years. It's his rehabilitation bucket that he uses for multiple things. Dropping that from 8 million to 7 million pushed the cash up, pushed the rating agency ratio above where we needed it to be. So with that one very small change that hopefully will not impact anything, gives us a very good path going forward to maintain the ratios and the ending cash balance that we are striving to achieve. So that's the end of the slide presentation. Are there any questions I can answer? It is relatively unchanged from the last time we looked at it, except that the numbers are now solid.
You have a question for Ellen?
Certainly.
He's looking through his paperwork.
Ellen did say that the numbers are now solid. That's probably not the appropriate phrase to use for wastewater, but we'll go with that.
Better than liquid?
Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ellen, for that presentation and for working with the financial subcommittee on all this. My question is about what was sent out as Appendix D, Delta. Do you have that one? It's the cash position.
Let me find it.
Lynn, it's part of the financial plan document. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
So I just don't, I guess, understand it fully and what it's displaying relative to the budget, like that, you know, the top line there, operations, those numbers are not the same as the budget. Can you just kind of walk us through this chart?
Ellen, would you like me to take that?
Thank you, Michelle.
Sorry, Matt. This is cash balances. So this is the cash position. And it looks like the copy that she opened is the one prior to the changes that were made on Monday with Jackson. But in essence, what it's saying is the operating cash is projected to be 110, 106, 103, 95, 95. The debt proceeds, the remaining debt proceeds is the second line, the balance in the CIP projects. So when we're talking about the estimated ending cash balance for 23, and we're saying it's 146 million, that's what makes this up. But this is not the expenditure budget or anything like that. This is the cash balance.
So it's kind of like the money in the bank and what we're using to work the budget with.
What's available, and really the focus of some of this is kind of what Ellen was alluding to earlier, is keeping that ending cash balance, the unrestricted cash, because of that 146, you know, we have a lot of restrictions on it. We have the 20 million set aside for the emergency reserve. We have a debt service reserve. Each time we issue debt, we have to put it aside several $1 million for the final year's payments. We have the O&M reserve. So the unrestricted amount on this slide, the ending 63 million, that's where we're trying to stay above the 50 million for the rating agencies. And this is the money that we're using to pay down the debt. And part of paying down the debt with these excess cash amounts is to keep the rating agency ratio where it is. because it's adjusting the debt service payments in the future. By prepaying the cash, using excess cash to prepay the debt, we reduce the future debt service payments. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. The operations line, looking out at fiscal 26 and 27, the last two columns. So our O&M budget for those years is over 100,000 or 100 million.
Right.
And this is showing cash of 95 million ish. Is that a problem, or is that
So, I mean, again, that having the expenses increasing at the rate they've increased the past 2 years is problematic and is going to lead to discussions about potential rate increases in the future. There's a lot of variables, kind of what Ellen alluded to, what is going on with population growth, what is going on with people's usage of water. All of those are variables that can change, just like the rate of increase on our expenses can change. One of the easy things for people to wrap their head around right now is we're receiving a lot more in interest earnings than we did for the past many, many years, right? Interest rates have increased. That has a negative impact when we're issuing debt, but it has a positive impact on our existing cash balances because we're now receiving additional interest revenue related to those. So yes, the expenditures are going up, but in some instances, we have some increases going on with our revenues. So the idea is to try to keep those in sync so that we're not drawing down our cash balances. What are red flags for the rating agencies are, large increases in your expenses without a corresponding change to your revenue stream, which would cause a reduction in your cash balance. What they don't want to see is kind of that cash balance is declining and we're not doing any proactive measures to change that decline, either by reeling in the expenditures or looking at additional options for your revenues. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does help, and I appreciate it, Michelle.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle.
Any other additional questions for Ellen? Okay, Ellen, thank you very much for that update on the 23 financial plan for Pima County. Thank you, very good job. Next on the agenda is going to be Matt Matheson. He's going to be talking about the financial subcommittee report.
Yes, thank you. As I briefly mentioned, we did have a financial subcommittee meeting on March 13th, where the committee went over basically what we've just heard in pretty great detail, and with Ellen's explanations and assurances, we're quite satisfied with the way that the budget was developing and the financial plan as well. And I guess this might be an appropriate time for me to say on behalf of the subcommittee, I will move that the RAC committee support the proposed 2023-2024 budget that's been submitted by the wastewater department, and that we also support the 2023 financial plan and finance department's recommendations outlined within the plan.
Hey, Matt, this is Jackson. I just want to make one request for a minor edit to Ellen on the 23 financial plan document. On page 5, when we talk about the 5-year capital, all of the references are to an estimated 307 million. But on page 2, under the second bullet, under assumptions, it references approximate 310 million. I just think that should also be 307 million to match page 5.
I will make that edit.
Thank you.
Good catch. And my motion would be subject to that change. So I guess, Scott, I'm looking for a second.
I'll give a second.
Armando will second that.
Discussions about this at all? Okay, no discussion, so the motion is on the table. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstains? So the recommendation by Matt to approve the 2023 financial plan from the CIP has been passed. Let's see. Next on the agenda, any additional questions for Matt while we're still here?
I do have one other comment, Scott, if you don't mind. The financial subcommittee for the department is shorthanded currently based on Mark Taylor's resignation from the committee. And so I would like to toss out the opportunity to everyone else who's not a member of a subcommittee, or I guess for that matter, who's already on the CIP subcommittee, but would like to have even more fun. Please volunteer to be a member of the financial subcommittee. And you can do that either by showing your interest right now, or approach Jackson or Jeanette or me or Scott after this meeting. And I think Asia is probably going to make a similar pitch for the CIP subcommittee, but honestly, the financial subcommittee is far greater fun time, and Jackson always brings better refreshments to our committee meetings. So sign up for the financial group.
And I'd also like to make a correction for the record. I inadvertently voted for the financial. I am not allowed to vote for the financial subcommittee. I'm on the CIP. I still have Matt in my mind as CIP. So when I see Matt, I think CIP, and he's really financial. So I stand corrected. I voted incorrectly. Any other questions for Matt on the financial subcommittee report? Okay, not hearing any, we'll go ahead with the next item on the agenda. The CIP subcommittee report with Asia. Asia, it's all yours.
Thank you, Scott, and thanks for Matt for introducing the need also for the CIP subcommittee. We are also short a member with Mark Taylor departing the subcommittee. I would not disparage the financial subcommittee. I am also on the financial subcommittee. I do agree it's a fantastic subcommittee to be a member. You can't be both. So I would throw that out there. But if there is anyone who's not on either subcommittee, this would be a great opportunity to join one. We do go into detail about the project that the department is working on, the shorter term and the longer, a 10-year look, and even further on that subcommittee. And yeah, we would appreciate another member. So if you'd like to volunteer now, or as Matt mentioned, you could contact Jackson to join that subcommittee. And if you have any questions, if anybody has any questions about what we do, meeting a couple of times a year, I'd entertain those now.
Asia, this is Scott. I have a question. I thought I saw an email about trying to float a suggestion on when to have the next CIP subcommittee meeting. Was that ever congealed as a date, or was that still being floated out there?
I'm sorry about that, Scott. If there was something floated, maybe I have missed responding to it. Don't think we have the date left.
Okay, so we don't have
Monica,
a date.
can you correct me on that?
Okay, I guess I've been in my ear. I've been told we don't have a date yet for the CIP subcommittee.
But Scott, we've gone through with the subcommittee, the capital plan, and that's what's in the plan that Ellen just presented. So,
Okay.
unless somebody wants to revisit it, I
No,
think,
but the annual meeting.
well, it's
for
typically closer to the budget time, when
Yeah,
we're doing it
usually
again.
it's been about that June, May timeframe. That's fine, okay.
Yeah, we'll schedule something typically in the summer, and then again in the January timeframe. Or springs. We've also met in May occasionally.
Any additional questions for Asia, for the CIP? Okay, seeing no raised hands, thank you very much, Asia, for that, briefing. We go next to the fiscal year 22-23 expense and revenue, summary with, Isai. Isai, it's all yours, sir.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, everyone. This is the expense and revenue summary for period 8. Our total O&M expenses up to period 8 has been 56.3 million. Our projection is 91.4 million, giving us a slightly positive of $21,000. Our total O&M expenses, including contra, depreciation, and debt services, up to period 8 has been 106.
Isai, were you gonna share a screen? Were you gonna share your screen?
You know what? I am sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. I appreciate it. Thank you. Can we all see the screen now?
You weren't sharing it with us. You may have been sharing it, but not with us, but now we got it. Thanks.
All right, let me start from the beginning.
Yeah, that'd be best. Thank you.
So thanks again for period 8, our expense and revenue summary. Our total O&M expenditures has been 56.3 million. Our projection is 91.4 million, and we're slightly under budget by $21,000. Our total O&M expenses, including contra, depreciation, and debt service, up to period 8 has been 106 million. Our projection is 171.6 million, with a slightly over by $708,000. Scrolling down here to our revenue. Up to period 8, we have 122.3 million. Our projection is 193.5 million, with a slightly under by $37,000. Questions, anyone that we have for period 8? If not, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, Isai, were you done, sir?
Yes, sir, I am done.
Sorry about that. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Isai? Okay, thank you, Isai. They let you off easy today.
That's great, thank you.
Next on the agenda is going to be the Citizen Water Advisory Committee, CWAC, with Allison. Allison, it's all yours, ma'am.
Thank you, and I'm sorry my camera isn't working, so please bear with me. CWAC met on March 1st. We have a new CWAC member representing Nikki Lee, the city council member. The new member of CWAC is Melissa Lau. John Kamik, Tucson Water Director, reported on the mayor and council meeting from the week previous to our CWAC meeting. There was a brief update on PFAS and ADQ's allocation of $25 million for pre-treatment at the TARP plant. We also heard from the council about the lawsuit that the city is participating in regarding PFAS. The court chose Stuart, Florida as the bellwether community, and the defendants are 3M and other PFAS manufacturers. This is a multi-district suit, and the eventual ruling on the bellwether case can be applied to the other claimants. Tucson's damages are considered bigger than most because we rely so heavily on groundwater, and also because we have a potable system and a reclaim system. So that was really all he was able to say at this point. Mayor and council has also given the go-ahead to work with the Planning Commission on a turf ordinance. Basically, Tucson Water wants to do education on what constitutes non-functional turf, because that's the turf that Mayor and Council is proposing that we limit through this ordinance. There was a brief discussion on the drought preparedness plan. At that time, they were thinking we'd probably end up in Tier 3 of the DCP. Tucson Water is, and they're considering, CAP is considering a surcharge at Tier 2. There's a discussion of the water service policy with regard to drought. CWAC had instructed mayor and council, or requested that mayor and council consider revising commercial rates. That was not a unanimous recommendation, but and mayor and council has instructed city staff to look at this. Amber Kerwin made a presentation to CWAC, and a key thing about all water rates is they need to be based on cost of service. So they provided several scenarios on how we might change commercial rates. Ultimately, many of those scenarios showed that they would go down, others would go up. Mayor and council has quite a challenge ahead of them if they do want to revise those. Nothing's been decided at this point. That's it for now. Any questions?
Thank you, Allison. Anybody have any questions for Allison and CWAC? Last chance, we're gonna get out of here early, folks. I don't think anybody's gonna complain. All right, well, thank you, Allison. You did a great job for informing us what's going on. Next on the agenda is the future agenda items. Anybody have comments, suggestions for future agenda items? Okay, not seeing anything. Then we go to the call of the audience. Any call of the audience? Okay, well, we're gonna get off early today. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Or do we stay here all night?
The meeting?
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Very good, thank you. For a minute there, I thought we were gonna stay here. Okay, well, thank you very much. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstains? Okay, the next meeting is going to be on Thursday, April 27, 2023. I will not be here. Claire Zucker will be stepping in to chair the event. Thank you very much, Claire. And then I will see you all again in May. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. Be safe out there and watch out for that new construction on the highway starting in the next 2 years.
Have
Thank
a
you.
happy Easter.
Well, thank you. You too.
Thank you all.